Hello, future masters of sports performance and conditioning. My name is Ray. Today I'm going over the Hinge deadlift variations for athletic performance. I wanted to do deadlift, but I was too slow, and Brad got it, and his deadlift's way bigger than mine anyway, so he can have it, and it was a great video. First off, my experience as a college athlete, playing rugby and football. I was able to train under what I now know was our strength and conditioning coaches were textbook NSCA coaches. They followed everything by the book, and so it's made a lot of this stuff easy to remember for me because it's how I trained for many years. After college, did powerlifting myself, ended up getting a 705 in competition, conventional deadlift, competed my next competition, sumo, and pulled 685. Later on, I went back and played professional rugby again, and as of late, I'm a CrossFit gym owner, and so I've been doing a lot more functional fitness and still utilizing the hinge movement, of course, but having the broad experience and different perspective, I found it's been really helpful in helping other people. So the fundamental thing that most people struggle with is the difference between the hinge and the squat. And we've had a whole different range of people come into this gym, former college athletes, and they still struggle with the hinge movement. And so one of the first things we do, excuse the noise in the back, it's my beautiful little daughter, is defining the hinge. And so one of the first things we do with people who struggle with it is we get a little PVC pipe, hands like this, head and hips, and then ask them to hinge. And so what most people do is they initiate at the top. And so as we help them learn to push back with the hips and do the hinging movement, keeping that back nice and straight. And so it seems really simple at first, but then once we help people identify the difference between the hinge and the squat movement, it helps with the progressions a lot. And like I said, we've had lifelong athletic people, former college athletes, and they still struggle knowing the difference between a hinge and a squat. So the mechanics of it, because I'm going through a few different variations, just want to show you a few that we use with people. One of the more simple ones, once they get the hinge down, are banded deadlifts or hinges. And so able to just put a band around just to get a little bit of resistance, and then same thing, just going through that hinge movement. Always being mindful of their range of motion as well. Some people can just go completely flat in the hinge movement, that's fine. Others get to about here, tight hamstrings, whatever the cause is. And so we have to make sure that we're monitoring that as well. So we have banded hinges, suitcase deadlifts. Now this is, as of late, my absolute favorite because of the more transfer to athleticism, particularly in regards to core stability. So suitcase deadlifts, you can have two, but I always prefer the single arm. Unilateral movements is same thing, it's just going to be down, and you pick it up like you would a suitcase. So up like that. Now the good thing with single arm is, of course, we've got some trunk stability going on, balance. You can throw in single leg like that just to make it more dynamic, but there's a lot of transfer into athleticism with the suitcase deadlifts, particularly when they are done unilaterally. Kettlebell swings, another favorite. What I love about these is, of course, it coaches and teaches to generate a lot of power in the hips. So this is another movement that a lot of people struggle with because they want to squat the kettlebell. So they're going up and down and doing a squat movement. And so always coach, it's a hinge, and so I think the hips are going back and forward. And as people get better at that and actually using the hips to generate the power instead of just muscling it up and people's shoulders burn out. So this is really good, especially when you get super heavy with kettlebells, people learning to generate power through the hips. And then another variation that we use is the sumo deadlift high pull, SDLHP. This is more commonly done with a barbell, PVC. And so it is in the sumo position, coming up, and then of course you do a high pull with it as well. So again, that's helping athletes, helping people learn to generate that power through the hips, and so they're not just doing an upright row. So a couple of variations there. Now the muscles used, we know of course we've got glutes, hamstrings, erector spinae, lower back, adductors. They call it the king of the lifts because it uses so much muscles. And so it's effectively a full body workout. And I put on here grip strength because I firmly believe this is something that's underrated or not recognized enough in regards to the benefits of a deadlift or a hinge in regards to grip strength. And so a couple of references there. Grip strength is a predictor of absolute strength and endurance. And then more especially, grip strength is directly correlated with quality of life and lower risk of injury in older adults. And that's pretty much because if they can grip onto something, they're less likely to fall, less likely to hurt themselves. But we have forgetting the name of it right now, ergometer grip strength testing, and put our people through that pretty frequently. So with the warm-up, just following the good old ramp protocol. So first thing we want to do is raise core temperature. Now, most people just go for a jog or go for a bike, and that's fine. But because have the ability to in the facility, we have rowing machines, and that's my go-to because of the fact that, sitting on a row machine, it is practicing the same mechanics that you want to do in a deadlift in a hinge. And so it's warming up all of the posterior chain, getting the blood flowing and raising core temperature. And sometimes mix it up with the ski erg, which, if you're unfamiliar with that, it's almost a rower in reverse, but you stand there and you're using more your core, your front, to initiate the movement. So it's good to get all of that warmed up. In terms of activation and mobilization, we typically do a lot of inchworms on days like when there's hinging or deadlifts. The inchworms reaching up and then just walking down to get those hamstrings stretched out, and then walking those feet back towards the hands, getting those hamstrings. We really want those warmed up. Other dynamic movements, high knees, butt kickers, just really wanting to go through that. And then the potentiation phase, this is what I love, especially in regards to PAP. We want to, I've always referred to it as excite the muscles. We want to wake up. And so incorporating broad jumps, I like to do a few box jumps. And then even when starting the movement, in those early sets when it's really light, sub 50%, supersetting that with a few box jumps just to really wake up and get ready for some heavy lifting or a lot of lifting. So also focusing in those initial parts, the speed element, because the faster you can pull it, the easier it is. So the coaching piece. Now, today I'm going to go over specifically the hex bar as a specific variation. So the trap bar or the hex bar targets more quads. And so it's a very specialized piece of equipment. First of all, you have to have a hex bar. But for me, most of you know I work in mental health, so I'm always thinking about the mental element. athletes can lift more weight with a hex bar. And so for ego purposes, for mindset purposes, it typically helps. There is less demand on the lower back. And what it effectively is it's like a hybrid of a squat and a deadlift. So you have squat mechanics with deadlift benefits. And that's a Boyle quote. So research shows too that for most athletes, utilizing the hex trap bar is going to be more beneficial and have more transfer to force, power, and velocity. So spotting and safety and coaching cues real quick. The 3 biggies: weighted and evenly clipped. You can look up some horror videos of when the weight's different, or if there's no clips and they fall off and then can be dangerous. But also, if there's an imbalance in the weight, more likely to strain a muscle or something. So making sure it's evenly weighted and clipped. Social distancing, before it was cool, make sure no one's around within the immediate vicinity. So if something does fall off, it's not going to hit anybody. And then the third one, which I practice religiously because I had a friend pass out the top of deadlift and smash his head, is have a spotter at least behind. And the goal is always to catch the head. Don't want their heads to smash on the ground, especially behind. Someone falls forward, that's what we've got noses for, to smell and to cushion our landing. But want to have someone there just in case they get up to the top and then they pass out. Now, in regards to coaching cues, anyone who's coached anyone, it just depends on the person. One cue might not work for the others, for other people. So, in regards to the hex bar, just like with the deadlift, there's a few key ones. Heels planted on the ground. Now, I've used all different cues, but again, I'm just going to go over basics. Now, I can't read my notes. Heels planted, neutral spine. So again, we're trying to keep that back nice and straight. Don't want humping and don't want the reverse either, which is what some people do when they push their booty back too far. So neutral spine, big chest or shoulders pinned back. So this is especially important. Those initial pulls, like if your shoulders roll forward, your spine is more likely to bend as well. So keeping those shoulders nice and big. Brace, that's Valsalva, or just get that core nice and tight and then hump the bar. So all together, got those heels down, neutral spine, those big chest, brace, and then hump the bar. Bring those hips through and then back down. So again, I love using these because I can incorporate when doing some PAP, can do some heavy sets, step out, and then do some jumps or something like that to help with power. No pooping dogs, it's just what we used to call it when people are lifting and then they start to round and it looks like a dog pooping on the ground. So I hope this helps, hope this is informative. Another key thing when training a hinge or a deadlift is to ensure that we also train the eccentric part of the movement. If all we're doing is the concentric, hamstrings are going to shorten and then more likely to tear or strain. And so making sure that we do plenty of eccentric loading as well. So hope this helps. Thanks.